Good day, everybody. Welcome. We're going to really get this going in a few minutes. But what I wanted to do, and thank you for being on time. There's more people coming on. But to get the most out of this, I want to give you three gets. So, number one, get yourself ready. Get the tools that you need. There's going to be some great information here. So get yourself a pen, some paper, maybe something to drink. The second thing to get is to get rid of any distractions. Turn the cell phone off, turn Facebook off, turn off those things that get in your way of getting the most out of this. And the third thing to get is to get yourself in the right mindset. Get yourself in the mindset is if today was a day and I could learn something really amazing today, what is it that I want and need? What mindset do I need to get the most out of today? And what I want you to do is type the mindset. There's a chat box over here. Type the mindset that you need to get the most out of today, because we're going to dive deeply into relationships. And we're not going to talk about one type of relationships. We're going to talk about 5. That's your relationship, and some of you are in couples. So what is your relationship? Do you have is the most important one right now with your lover, with your friend, your family, your work, or the most important relationship really with yourself? And you're going to get tools today to work on all of those. And I notice some people are chiming in from all around the world. We've got people from New Zealand. So type in where you're calling from. Thank you very much. So those are the 3 gets, and now let's get started. What I want to do to get you in the right mindset, and by the way, I have notes here. We've got 4 amazing speakers, and this is the first time that we're doing this presentation together, so I've got pages of notes. So I'm asking permission in advance to look down to make sure I give everything I can to you guys. So it's easy to be loving and compassionate and connected when things are easy and everything's going good. And when things are going good, you don't need this webinar. You don't need what we teach. What you need, when you need this is when the differences in your relationships become difficulties. And that's what makes the difference between a great relationship and a mediocre one. Do you have the tools to handle the differences? And that's why we decided to create this webinar, which is where we deal with the differences, decisions, difficulties, and drama in a relationship with compassion, understanding, connection, and without giving up on love, intimacy, and yourself. So let's check in. Where are people? A state of mind of gratitude. Namaste from Santa Cruz. Don't forget to mute when you're talking. Not talking. Okay. We're getting coaching in there at the same time. So you already noticed this. I'm going to ask permission for 3 basic things here. Number 1 is I'm going to ask permission for our style. And our style is going to be interactive, because there's a chance for us to modify as we go along when we hear what's important to you, like openness and receptivity. I hear from Steve. The second thing is there's 4 of us, so I'm going to ask permission to look at my notes periodically. So the second thing is the content, and we're going to help you, and Emily and Scott made an amazing video on how to take conflict and take it so it brings you closer and brings you more compassion, and how do you deal with the triggers and upsets. And then we've got Jonathan, who's going to give you some tools that you can walk away with that are amazing. And just so you know, we also have people from Victoria, Canada. I'm bouncing around a lot here. The big thing we want to do is help you when you're in that downward spiral, that relationship spiral, downward spiral towards relationship hell, and everything you do just seems to make things worse. We want to give you some tools that you can stop that, turn it around, and head back up again. So what I want you to do is tell me over in the chat box, what's the most important relationship for you now, and what's the biggest trigger, upset, what's causing the most challenge for you? And the last thing I want to ask, and then I'm going to introduce our speakers, is at the end of this, we're going to give you everything that we can in the time that we have, and we're not going to cover it all. We're going to give you lots of information, And at the end of this, if you want to integrate this information into your relationship and create a transformation in your relationship, we're going to tell you how to do that. So I'm asking, would that be okay? So if that would be okay, just tap in the box there. Yep, bring it on. So, and there is a delay, just so you know, when you're typing in the box, I don't get it for like a minute. So it will feel like a little bit of a time delay. So what I'd like to do is have Scott and Emily. Scott and Emily are an amazing couple. They run the Love Coach Academy out in California. Scott has been my go-to guy for years when I have a client that I have a problem with that I can't figure out, or in my own relationship. Even though I'm a love coach and I've studied these tools a lot, there's days I get stuck. And when I get stuck, Scott is my go-to guy. So Scott and Emily, come on for a second and give us a little introduction.
Yay.
Yay. Well, greetings. We love doing these webinars, and what we really love to do is to give these tools, which we've taught, I've been teaching them for 15 years now to thousands of people, to you. These tools work every day. Emily and I get thank you notes unsolicited via Facebook or emails or phone calls. We have people today sending us a text from Spain. Americans visiting in Spain, they're on their kind of second honeymoon, thanking us, saying, you know, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. We would be divorced.
In fact, before they went to Spain, they came for a 5-day intensive because they were about to get divorced. And through those 5 days of intense work with us, they now have rewritten their commitments and their vows, and they're restarting their relationship from new.
After 35 years of marriage. It's really cool.
And of bad habits, which we're going to help you get out of.
That's right. So we're excited. I also want to say that we use these in our relationship. Emily and I have an amazing relationship. Yeah. I'm very blessed to be with her. And honestly, truly, we get triggered. We're human, but we never fight.
Yeah.
We never fight because we use these tools.
And before I had these tools, on a personal level, where I was I didn't know how to do conflict. When anytime anything got hard, I'd just peace out and be a conflict avoider. I'd just flee away or just get paralyzed and go, I don't know what to do. And so what I've learned is how to be able to be in conflict, take care of myself, speak up for myself, but also be able to enter someone else's world, find out what's going on, and be vulnerable so that we can bring each other closer together. So, and also I didn't know how to speak up for what I needed and wanted, and these tools really helped me reclaim that.
Yeah, so we're really delighted to be with all of you. Looking forward to answering as many of your questions as you can, and I'll turn it back over to our ring leader, ring master,
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. And also I want to acknowledge David Amiri, who's doing our moderation. Thank you, David, for all the technical work that is so essential.
Wow, thank you so much. I really, I get a lot out of working with you guys and listening to you. And by the way, there are some questions coming into the chat box. Thank you for some very personal and interesting and intimate ideas of what triggers you. And we'll give you some tools, so keep them coming. The next person is Jonathan Robinson, and Jonathan I got to meet at a workshop, and he is an amazing human being, and I read an awful lot of books about relationships and relationship communication. I have piles of them. And this one Jonathan wrote. Jonathan has also been on Oprah 4 times. And if you look at this book, this is not a book that I just idly read. It's a book that I interact with. So I get an awful lot out of this gentleman. When he speaks, I listen and take notes. So Jonathan, step up and say hi.
Thanks, Paul. You know, I think the reason why I've been fortunate enough to reach a lot of people through the books and TV is because I'm really lazy. That's actually helped me out. And when I say lazy, you know, when you get triggered, you kind of forget stuff. So I've kind of specialized in really simple techniques. You know, later I'm going to talk about 4 magic words that can turn almost any situation around. Or I'm going to talk about how to, when you're triggered, let go of your upset in under a minute. And, you know, these tools not only help me and my wife, but they really have helped a lot of people. I get a lot of emails from people saying, you know, we were on the verge of divorce and your 4 magic words really were magic in our life. So I look forward to sharing some of that stuff tonight.
Outstanding. Thank you. And what I want the listeners to think about is that tonight we're going to help you make three or four good decisions. And at the end of this information, what you want to do is look at, do I want information or transformation? Do I want to just intellectually understand what we have, or do I actually want to implement it? And we're going to start out this whole process by getting Scott and Emily to do the first section here, and let's give them our attention.
By the way, did you all catch Jonathan Robinson 4 times on Oprah? Just wanted to make sure you got that. We've got like a major dude in our room with us.
Yeah.
Sure
And simple tools.
Simple tools.
A benefit to being lazy.
All right.
So we're going to show you some pretty common scenarios in relationship, and we're going to kind of go over different stages. So really tune in and give us your full attention, because we want to see if you relate to this, if this looks familiar. So we're going to show you what happens when a couple's really hot for each other and they first meet.
Yeah. Wow, it is so good to see you. God, you're so beautiful.
I just can't get my hands off of you.
Oh my God, I like that. And you're wearing blue. You know, blue's my favorite color.
Oh my God, I love blue. You're wearing blue too.
Cosmic.
Yeah, it's cosmic.
It's cosmic. Okay, I'm going to ask you a really important question.
Okay.
Look at this big.
Okay.
Do you like dogs?
I love dogs.
You love dogs? Oh my God.
Let's take our dogs to the park. We'll go on a walk.
I would love that.
All right, all right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You might want to go.
Dogs, blue.
Did you date?
Yeah.
You want
I
to
would
go
love that. I would love, yes.
Cool.
Now, of course, you know, maybe it may not be quite that easy. We're exaggerating a little bit because we only got a short period of time. But the bottom line is, when you meet someone and both people want to connect, you find a way.
All you see is the commonalities, the love. You're just beaming.
Yeah, right. How many of you have had that experience? You know, and definitely respond in the chat room. We love webinars because we can interact with you. So let us know if you've been in that kind of mutual find a way to connect experience.
Fireworks. Now we're going to just give you a little taste of what you might see next, which is the honeymoon stage.
Oh, we love the honeymoon stage. Oh my God, it is so good to see you. You're so beautiful.
I've been thinking about you so much. In fact, when I'm not around you, all I can think about is you.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh God, that's so cool. You know, I want you to know something. Don't change. You are perfect exactly the way you are. I don't want you to change anything. Promise me?
Not anything?
Nothing. Just stay exactly the way you are, because you're so perfect.
Oh, God.
You're the woman I've always dreamed of. I miss you too when we're not together.
I know this sounds kind of maybe too much too soon, but maybe we move in together?
Oh, I would love that.
Really?
Yeah. I could wake up
so
with
scared.
you.
I was worried.
No, are you kidding?
Yeah.
I fantasize about it all the time.
Oh my God. Yes.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too.
Isn't that just the best stage? How many of you have been in that honeymoon stage where just everything is perfect? You don't want to change anything. It's all so good.
So now that our happy couple is actually living together, honeymoon stage starts to wane. You know, you give it 3-6 months, maybe a little bit longer if you can really sustain that juice. But then what happens is domesticity starts to happen. And the little things that we used to think were really great start to bug us.
You know, researchers who study human behavior have determined that there are 5 common habits, we're going to call them triggers, things that we all might do that trigger the other. And when we get triggered and we perceive the possibility of attack, our reptile brain takes over, and we go from being kind of a rational human being to a raging reptile. And the thing is this, when we perceive the possibility of attack and the reptile brain takes over, we only have 3 options. Fight, flight, freeze. Right? So we're going to kind of share with you the 5 primary triggers. This is all scientific research. You can Google it.
Yeah. That
trigger the reptile brain in our common lives.
And you're going to want to stay tuned, because Paul's going to go deeper into the fight, flight, or freeze. So.
Yeah. And the alternatives to that. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So Emily's going to act this out. So, are you ready? You might want to write this down. Here are the 5 big triggers. Number 1, tone of voice.
Pick up your socks!
Number 2, choice of words.
God, you're such a slob.
Oh. Number 3, body language. Number 4, volume.
Come on, let's go! I've been waiting in the car.
Number 5, level of intensity.
Can you pick up that cup of coffee, please? I told you to pick it up already.
All those things. We perceive it as an attack. Boom, we go into reptile brain. All we know how to do is fight, flight, or freeze. Doing the headlights. Now, it's not just the chick that does it to the guy. Us dudes do it too. So we want to really make sure you've got this anchored in because we want you to learn this. So now I'm going to demonstrate the 5 triggers.
So these are the 5. This is the first one, which is tone of voice.
Emily, I've been waiting forever for you.
Number 2, choice of words.
God, I'm always waiting for you. Always. Oh, you're such a chick.
Number 3, body language. That's when he gets really upset. I've seen that before.
My dog's getting into it.
Number 4, volume.
Emily!
Oh, God. You're working up the dog.
I know, the dog's been going.
Number 5, level of intensity.
I have to wait for you one more time. One of us is going to die.
Oh, God. Sounds like Clint Eastwood.
I got the neck thing going on, you know.
The neck.
He's all pissed, you know. So it's like, these are the things that trigger us. Are these familiar to you?
Yeah. In fact, we want to know which one of these you relate to. So in the chat box, please let us know. What are these 5 triggers that you're attuned with that really set you off?
Which one bothers you the most?
Tone of voice, choice of words, body language, volume, and level of intensity. Let us know.
We want to know. So what happens is when we start experiencing all those things, our lover becomes our enemy. And I want to say that this isn't just about romantic relationships, but those triggers and the things we're going to be talking about can ruin any relationship, whether it's a friendship, a family relationship, someone you work with, someone you live with. These tools that we're talking about are for all relationships.
Yeah. And what would it be like to just stay in these triggers, to have these run our lives? What would your relationships be like consistently, really being in these places of triggers? And what would it be like to be able to learn how to manage them? How wonderful would your life be? How wonderful would your relationships be?
And that's what we want to help you with. But you know what? We need to do one more skit.
Yeah. But we also wanted to say, too, that not only were these triggers going on, but there was judgment going on all over the place when I said words like slob or you're so messy. And these are really the toxic patterns in relationship. And so we want to bring those to the light of consciousness as well. So now we're going to fast forward to an example of when now we've been together for a while.
And we fight over everything.
We fight over everything. The triggers are really solidified. They're set in. And even the things that are the differences, which we can usually come together upon if we work them out, are now escalating like crazy.
And I remember how initially, every time I'd see her, oh, you're so beautiful. Now when I look at her, it's like, oh, God, what does she want now?
Oh, God. So painful. Can you relate?
What do you want? Did you get to that point where you just look at the other person and it's like, what's that face? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, or just even like you walk into the room and you're walking on eggshells, not knowing when that person's going to make you wrong. So here we go.
Oh, Sunday, goodbye, relax.
Sunday? I've got so much planned. Look at all the stuff that we have around the house to clean up.
Oh, no, not cleaning up, honey. Can we just relax?
Look,
it's Sunday.
all you do, you work and you come home, you relax.
Well,
the same
yeah,
thing.
I work hard.
I've been wanting to talk to you when you get home, and you just want to freaking relax all the time.
Well, I mean, that's what life is all about. I mean, we're supposed to be relaxing.
We got things that we got to do around here. Clean up, you know.
Things that you want to do. I don't want to
clean.
Cleaning up is not that important to me. It's important to you.
Yeah, it
Hire
is
a
important
maid.
to me. Yeah, that's what you just want to do. You want to pay for someone else to do
Well,
it.
yeah, I pay for everything around here, it seems like.
God, I just think, you know what? Just that date night that we were going to have, fuck it. Ooh.
Yeah, she said the F word.
Sorry.
Yeah, Robin R. Jam. You're going to get us kicked off of Robin R. Jam.
Sorry.
Yeah,
it's what happens. You start using the F-bomb when you escalate.
So, you know, it's painful. It's painful. How many of you have been in a relationship, whether it's romantic or family, where there was love and it slowly, or
Yeah.
maybe not so slowly, became toxic.
And you even start doing things like start punishing your lover by taking things away from them, like, or withholding love. It's painful, but this stuff happens.
So if we don't change it, the short-term result is that we're just miserable.
And what happens in the long-term impact is that either it becomes so toxic we live in that misery, and we even find connection through fighting, which is so horrible, or inevitably the relationship ends. Both which are really painful outcomes.
You know, I took a brief look at the chat box, and I'm really appreciating that you guys are writing. And by the way, what Scott wrote, certain triggers trigger other triggers, and that's exactly what happens.
Just escalates.
We call it the misery go round. And, you know, one thing escalates, and the next thing you know, it just escalates into horror, absolute horror.
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of talked about the problem, and here's the good news. Ta-da-da!
We have a very specific solution that works.
David, give us the 7 adjustments. Da-da-da! Our super moderator, David, is going to pull up something that we've created called the 7 adjustments.
Yeah.
And we want you to really take a look at it. And look at those words on the left-hand side, the red words. Now, you know what? They're not just words. They are actual intentions, they're ways of being. And when we look at those words, we recognize that they're habits. They're not our true nature. They're habits we've picked up probably from our parents or from our culture, maybe even just watching television. We learn and pick up the habit of blame, shame, make wrong, judgment, guilt. And those are the habits that create toxicity in relationship.
And honestly, this document has saved marriages, hundreds of marriages, and between the 4 of us, it's helped tons of individuals drastically improve their relationships. And we want to show you how to recognize when you might be expressing yourself in a way that, you know, the other is experiencing blame, shame, guilt, and make wrong. And a lot of times we don't even know we're doing these things.
Yeah. And the 7 adjustments is this amazing way to look and say, okay, I have a habit of doing make wrong and blame and criticism with my partner or with my friend or my mother or my kid, whatever it might be. How can I adjust into curiosity or compassion or more understanding or just appreciation? So we're going to do a couple of examples for you.
And just to anchor it in, it's like you can't just stop doing a habit and expect it to solidify. You've got to shift something that's not working and replace it with something that is. So if you think about like changing a habit from eating junk food to actually eating healthy food, you had to replace it. So that's why it's important to be able to have these other life-affirming alternatives. So I'm going to show just an example of, instead of criticizing Scott, which I did earlier when I said you're messy, you're a slob, you don't pick up after yourself, which is so common in relationship, right, when our needs aren't getting met, to actually appreciating him, which is inviting connection. Hey, sweetie, I just wanted to say, you know, thank you so much. The other day when you kind of picked up stuff around the office, I really saw that you made an attempt to, you know, really do things the way that I like, and I just feel so supported when you do that.
Do you really notice that?
Yeah, I noticed it. I really did. And I know sometimes I don't bring recognition or validation to those things, but I want to do more of that.
Thanks. That makes me want to, it inspires me then to do it more often.
Yeah.
And you know what? It does. Let me tell you, we men, let's just be honest, when we love our woman, we want to please her. So when she gives us appreciation, I know that, you know, that I want to do more of what she appreciates. You know, and obviously staying in my strength, staying in my power, but in a healthy relationship, I do want her to be happy.
Yeah, and obviously if over and over again I try that and he's not, then that's when I want to vulnerably go and say, sweetie, this is really having a consequence on me. This is the impact. I'm really feeling troubled right now, and my need for support's not being met, and I'm really longing for more support around the house.
But see, if she comes at me with that critical attitude, not like what she's described.
Right, that was vulnerability.
That was vulnerability, which is beautiful. But if she comes at me in the critical way, kind of the way we acted it out earlier, I'm going to shut down and disconnect.
Right.
But if she comes at me with vulnerability or with appreciation, my heart opens. It's an invitation to connect.
Yay.
I'm going to give one other quick example of 7 adjustments. Just with my tone of voice. Remember we talked about tone of voice, which, by the way, is the #1 trigger. I'm going to say almost the exact same thing to her. I'm going to pretend that she did something that bothered me, and I didn't understand why she did it. The first time I'm going to talk to her, I'm going to have a tone of voice that's filled with judgment and criticism and making her wrong. Okay, watch. Emily, why did you do that? God, I just want to understand you.
So literally, my heart is like, I can feel it clenching, and I just am looking at this person like, who are you? Kind of like...
No sex tonight when that happens. You can
Stay
forget
away.
it. Date night, over, gone. But notice when I say when I have the same intention, I'm confused by what she did, and I'm even a little agitated by it, but I'm curious. I'm seeking to understand. Emily, honey, I just want to know, why did you do that? I really want to understand you.
Yeah, well, I was just trying to make things better, clean up around the house, you know?
Yeah, okay. It's just sometimes when you put my things away and I can't find them, then it gets a little irritating for me.
Yeah, I can understand moving things without your permission.
Yeah, but I get you were trying to clean the house, and I appreciate that. You keep the house clean, and I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just maybe
I'll
check
be
in with me.
yeah, I'll check in.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Okay. It could be that simple. You know what? Honestly, that's a real scene from our relationship.
That's a huge thing because honestly, Scott, he tends to have things kind of spread out around his office. I have to really choose my words right now. So,
but you know, that is how we talk to each other, the nice way.
yeah,
it works.
and the key is slowing down and really going within and owning what's going on with me. And Paul Sterling's going to talk more about that. So really owning our triggers.
So to wrap up our section, David, Maestro, bring up the 7 adjustments list. Because we want to ask you a question. As you look at this list, and hopefully it's where everybody can see it again. I'm going to do it so at least on my computer it is. So just look at this for a moment. Which world do you want to live in? Do you want to live in that world of that little unhappy guy on the left, where he's just living in a world of judgment and guilt and blame and shame and sometimes pain, and sometimes that judgment is self-directed.
Right.
What's wrong with me? Oh my God, I can never get it right. Or do you want to live in that world of curiosity and care and compassion? Which world do you want to live in?
And what would it be like to not shift out of these habits? What would your relationships be like? Do you want to continue kind of going around in the misery go round? Or what would your relationships be like to have these beautiful green words, understanding, reassurance, appreciation?
I'm pretty confident most of them want the green habits and the green words.
Right, yeah. But it's not enough just to say that you want it. You got to learn how to practice and integrate it. So we're going to talk more about that later.
And that's where we're going to support you as best as we can. Tune it back over to our
Take it
partner,
away, Paul.
Thank you. And actually what I'd like people to do is type in on the chat box, which one of those habits did you like the most? Which one of those characteristics, and which one triggers you the most? Is it judgment, criticism? So let's get some interactive and feedback from you. And I've asked Scott and Emily, and we'll figure it out at the end of this, but how they can make that handout available to you so you can get a copy of it, because it's really important choice that you don't just make once, it's on a regular basis. You know, Scott has written "Go Green," "Go Green." That's really beautiful up there. But you want to get one of these handouts and put it up on your refrigerator so you can have a constant reminder. It's like going to the relationship gym. And so, speaking of going to the relationship gym and having a workout, thank you, Scott and Emily. And we're going to move over to Jonathan, and he's going to give us some very cool tools. And I'm going to be taking notes too, so have your paper and pen ready, and we'll go from there. And we're getting some great feedback. There's another Go Green, there's appreciation. These are all things that I know I want in my relationship, and that's really bringing it to my conscious mind makes it much more easy to have it. All right, Jonathan, it's switching over to you.
Great. Well, thanks, Paul. I'll give the first tool right off the bat so people really get this, and that is, as I'm talking, imagine that I'm talking directly to you. Now, this is a webinar, and you might be with people, and you know it's hard in this day and age of technology to imagine that I'm talking directly to you, but imagine that this is specifically for you and your relationship. And if your relationship's like mine, where I've been married for a lot of years, you eventually get to a place where you get triggered. And the problem with being triggered is that all your intelligence goes out the window. You know, you may have read a book. I wrote a book on communication. You'd think I would know this, but you know, when I get triggered, I forget it all. So what I've learned to do is come up with methods that are so simple and easy that even if my IQ drops 100 points when I'm triggered, I can still remember to do this technique or that technique. And with practice, you can get to a point where it's automatic. So instead of going into the blame and the guilt and the make wrong, you go into this simple technique that corrects it all. So the problem is that our reptile brain makes us triggered, we lose our intelligence, and we keep triggering our partner, they trigger us. It's what Scott and Emily call misery go round. And you need to break that pattern. And breaking patterns is hard when you have no IQ points left because you just got triggered. So let me give an example of what I'm talking about, because it has to be so easy that even though you're currently at reptile level of intelligence, you can still remember to do this. So for example, when I've told this to my wife, that being a guy, I really like to help. I like to be of assistance. If possible, I want to make my wife happy. But if she's complaining or she's criticizing, I go into the reptile brain, I go into shut down. It doesn't feel very good. So I said, here are 4 magic words that you can say to me that will change how I feel right away. And when you're in a committed relationship, you want to know what the magic words are that you can tell your partner, or what magic words they can say to you that will immediately shift things. You know, sometimes I do magic tricks. This is a little magic trick. This is, you know, when you're seeing red, how do you shift that? How do you make it so that you're no longer seeing red? And it has to be almost that quick, because if it's not that quick, you're just going to keep on down the path that you've been on. So I've told her the 4 magic words I want her to say to me are, I need your help. I like helping. I'm good at helping. I'm a counselor. That triggers that part of me that feels confident. You know, when I'm criticized, I don't react so well. But when somebody says, I need your help, that vulnerability makes me want to listen, makes me want to help. And that simple thing has helped us avoid a lot of arguments. Sometimes a little thing, a little key can make a big difference. You know, I have here's a key I have in my car key. It's a little thing, it's a little piece of tin, but without this key, my 20,000 pound and $20,000 car is worthless. And if you don't react well when you're triggered, it can take a really good marriage and it can destroy it. And what are the implications of that? Well, depending on your situation, that could destroy your life. You could lose a lot of money, you could lose your kids, you could lose your pets. So these things are really important. You need to know what is the weak point in your relationship, like when you're triggered, and what is the little key that you can do in that exact moment that is going to shift it. So I've told her, say the words, I need your help. That changes my whole approach. And then she might say, I need your help. I'm really upset, and I need you to listen to me. Great, now I know what to do. That changes the whole dynamic. Now I've told her certain words that I can say that really help her. And these are the words that a lot of men can say to their women that will really shift things. And once again, it's 4 words. Even if I'm triggered and I'm in a reptile brain, I can remember 4 words. And the 4 words I've learned to say when she's having a hard time is, that must really hurt. Or it's really a fill in the blank. That must really blank. Maybe that must have been really stressful. Or that must have been really made you angry. Or you must feel really angry. You know, when you validate somebody's experience, it makes it so that they're no longer feeling like they have to resist you. You're on the same team. And we always want to be on the same team. Have you ever been in that situation? I bet, you know, it's like where You're in a relationship with someone, but you feel like you're on opposing teams. That feels horrible. And when you have that experience, and if you have that experience a lot, the relationship's going to end eventually. Now, if the relationship ends, you know, you're going to have heartbreak, you're going to have the whole thing that goes on with relationships ending. So we can't afford that. And you have to think in terms of what it costs you to not get really good at knowing how to turn relationships around. I think of it as one of the most important skills a human being can learn. How to get really good when you're stressed in a relationship to quickly turn it around. What key do you have? If you don't know that simple skill in life, your life and your relationships can end up in divorce. They can end up going through the same routine of breakups. You can end up losing money, kids. It's such a simple thing, but it has such implications. So for guys, really get good at when a woman is having a hard time getting that empathy. And one of the things I like about Scott and Emily is that Scott is the most empathetic person I've ever met. You know, I have a best-selling book on communication, but I wanted to learn from the best in the world, and he's the best I've ever seen. So no matter how good you are at this, you always want to get better because your skills at communication determine how much love you have in your life. You know, you can rate on a 1 to 10 scale. 10 is you are constantly overwhelmed with love. 1 is you have no love in your life. And you can come up with a number and put it in the chat box now. That number, I find, is exactly correlated to how good your communication skills are. If you have a level 10, I see Scott, he has a lot of love in his life. He's a level 10 communicator. I have a brother who's a good guy, smart guy, giving guy. His level of communication is horrible. Unfortunately, that's why he has no love in his life. So it's really important that you get good at these simple skills so you can turn things around when they get tough. So once again, if you're a woman, you might experiment with this and see how effective it is. Saying, I could really use your help. You know, as I said, I'm a magician, and I like to say abracadabra and make, you know, a person disappear or something like that. There's no magic trick as good as being able to go from anger, resentment, criticism, make wrong, to the 7 adjustments of curiosity, acceptance, understanding. That's what I would call a communication miracle. Now, I'm giving you some really simple things, but you have to make these things a habit. You know, because when we're triggered, that's a habit. You know, if I could pay you $500 for you to trigger your partner in a minute, could you do it? How many people, for $500, they could figure out some way to really trigger their partner in under a minute? A lot of people probably could. We call that pushing somebody's buttons. And we have these buttons installed in us, and our partners learn to push them. But we also have what could be called love buttons. If I paid you $500 when your partner's triggered to make them feel melty and back in love with you, would you know how to do that? A lot of people don't. And that's a skill that you need to learn. You know, later Paul's going to talk about that we're doing a retreat. And one of the things I like about these retreats is that you get to actually practice the stuff. Something Paul says, which I also agree with, is that information is not transformation. You're getting some information here, but some of these skills have to be practiced so that they're automatic. And when you get it automatic, people start to look at you like you have a superpower. And when I look at Scott and Emily, it looks to me like they have a superpower because they can take couples who've been fighting for years, for decades, and turn it around in a few minutes. And nothing's more important than love. And nothing's more important than being able to feel that connection. And most of us don't have much practice with it. You know, we haven't studied it for very long. We've studied how to clean the house more than we've studied how to clean our own house or how to clean up our relationships. So what you ultimately want to be able to do is practice this stuff and practice it to the extent where it becomes automatic. And really to do that, you need to be in a confined space where you can bring up this stuff over and over with the real issues that you have, and learn to break the old patterns and develop the new patterns. And I'm known for having all these very precise tools because I need to learn what works in my own life. And when you get triggered, you lose about 80 IQ points, and for a lot of us, that doesn't leave us with much left. So hopefully you get the sense that there's a very precise problem that happens in relationships, very precise solutions, and with practice, not that much. Basically in a weekend, you can get this stuff down pretty well. And then you free yourself from worrying about divorce or breakups, and you open up to a world of greater love. And that's really what we deserve. That's what life's about. So sometimes you have to invest your time, energy, and money into being with some of the world's best to really get this stuff down and see that transformation can really happen. So I hope that we get to play some more. I get to give you some more tools. One of the reasons I do this, I don't get paid for it. The reason I do it is because I like to be around it. And Paul, Scott, and Emily are some of the world's best that I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot. And little things can make a huge difference. So practice this stuff, and I hope to play with you some more. So Paul, I feel that's it for now.
Well, actually, it's not quite it, Jonathan.
Okay, great.
I want to ask people to think about what you just said, and there's a huge difference between people who dabble in something and people who master it. And there are a lot of things I dabble in. I dabble in artwork. I dabble in kayaking. And there's no problem in dabbling except for if you want mastery results. So if you look at relationships like Scott and Emily's, like Jonathan's, they're masterful at it. But don't think that they got there by dabbling. And so what I want to ask people on the call is, now that you heard Jonathan's masterful way of describing even that little key that controls so much, do you want to be someone who masters your relationship and masters the tools that trigger your lover in a positive way, or do you want to stay in a relationship or with the skills where you trigger them in the negative way? So which one do you want to trigger? So type that in, and if you've got any words of appreciation for Jonathan, type them in, because he is probably the most masterful communicator I've ever met in taking complex things and making them simple. Because what you need tools that are at their best when you or the situation is at its worst. So I appreciate that, Jonathan, and I was taking notes and trying to watch and take notes at the same time. So I'm going to dive in a little bit, talk a tiny bit about me. I have gone through 1 divorce and 3 broken engagements, so I mastered destroying relationships. And I say this a little flippantly, but it wasn't flippant. It was heartbreaking. And it left me feeling, is there something wrong with me? Am I broken? What is going on? And I stumbled across something called nonviolent communication, and that really opened up a whole new world, because the quality of your relationship is based on the quality of your communication. And when that falls apart, so does your relationship. And so that kind of got me on the path, and Scott and I have studied with one of the creators of that, Marshall Rosenberg, and that was a real turning point in my life. And I'd already studied with masters. I had worked for Tony Robbins, and I'd studied with Marshall Thurber, Marshall Rosenberg. Well, I hadn't yet to Marshall Rosenberg, but a lot of people. So I had gone through 1 divorce, 3 broken engagements. It was either become a monk or become a master. I didn't know which one, and I decided to master this. And this has been an amazing journey. And one of the things that's been the most important to me recently is understanding the 3 main parts, let's see if I get this right, 3 main parts of the brain that affect relationships. There is the relating part, that's the empathy, the heart, the connection. Then there's the reasoning, and that's the logical part. And then there's the reactive part. And the problem is, in coaching people for 18 years, I did not focus that much on the reactive part because I didn't see the power of it. The relating part is the part that gets you into a relationship. The reasoning kind of keeps you there, and the reactive part is what destroys your relationship. So I'm going to give you some examples here. Last night, I was driving home with my beloved, and we got stuck on, I'm in Colorado, we got stuck on this path. It's 11,155 feet past to the Eisenhower Tunnel on I-70, and there was a huge snowstorm. And there was probably, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 people stuck. We saw probably 20 or 30 emergency vehicles. And I went into, well, think about it. Which part of my mind? Was I in my relating part, in my reasoning part, or my reactive part? I was definitely in the fight, flight, freeze. And that's an excellent place to be when you're driving on an icy road and you have to react really quickly. And my whole focus there was on my safety and the safety of my beloved. Now, that's great when you're on an icy road. That sucks when you're in a situation in a relationship. Now, see, what triggers the reactive part of the brain, the reptile brain, tends to be when we're in a place where we no longer feel safe. And I got a few images. Hopefully you'll find them as funny as I did, but you know, you have this relationship where you feel all cozy and your lover feels cuddly, and you know, you look at Scott and Emily, and that's kind of what I see in their relationship. All right, and then what happens when the reptile brain kicks in? Then you end up with this, and it happens like that. See, what happens, because the reptile brain, it's about your safety. It has priority over every other thought. I was driving through Buena Vista the other day. This is a town in Colorado. And I heard the sirens behind me. And I pulled over because an emergency vehicle has what? It has the priority. And that's what happens when any thought about our personal safety comes up. You can be having the sweetest conversations. You can be really in love, and he looks over at another woman and he smiles, and he could be not even seeing her, and boy, all of a sudden that thought comes up. He likes her more than me. He's going to leave me, and this emergency vehicle comes up, and your relationship is all of a sudden threatened, and you go from being this to being this, and he doesn't even know what happened. You're gone, and all of a sudden it goes from being, it moves into this area. And Scott and Emily demonstrated a little bit of this. So what I want to do, though, is I want to give you a mindset shift. And this is one that I've had to work on inside myself. A mindset shift that when you get triggered, what happens, the brain starts scanning and going, what's the danger? Who's the enemy? If I'm this scared or hurt or uncomfortable, there's got to be a cause. And a lot of times what we do is we look at our lover, and since there's a proximity, they're close, we blame them. I'm scared, you did it. So here's what happens when we get triggered. You know, there was the questions that Jonathan was asking, and here's some other ones for you. Do you want your lover to be your enemy or your ally? And I had to look at that, and there's been temptations with my beloved. I was in pain and uncomfortable, and I'm going, wow, something's going wrong. It must be her fault. And I had to shift back out and go, oh, first place, that's on, you know, when you do the 7 adjustments, that's on the wrong side of the page. And I want to move back on the other side of the page. So do I want her as my enemy, or do I want her as my ally? The second part of this is, do I want this situation happening? Do I want it to bring us closer, or do I want us to push us apart? And if I answer those two questions, if I take a breath, slow down, I go, oh, I want to be an ally, and I want it to bring us closer. And it totally shifts my behavior. And then I'm going to slow down. And we're going to go through some more tools at the workshop, but I want you to just get that shift. And I want you to think about that for a second, and I want you to type in and type there, which one do you want? Do you want to learn how to bring them in as your ally or your enemy? And I've got a track record. It's an embarrassing track record. I already brought it up, but 1 divorce, 3 broken engagements. I'm slowing down. It's hard for me to describe how heartbreaking it is when you lose the love of your life and it was avoidable. But it comes out of that reptile brain that I got into reaction, and I didn't have the tools that Scott or Jonathan are giving me, and ended up making them the enemy, and they ended up making me the enemy too. I can remember being at my ex-fiance's house, this incredible woman, and we were in California, and she just got pissed at me, and she's yelling at me. And now, just so you know this about my history, I spent 18 years as a commercial fisherman. If I stood up, I'm 6'3", weigh about 220 pounds. I should not be terrified by some person yelling at me. If we got into a fight, I would have won. But that reptile brain kicked in, and you know the options that Scott and Emily talked about: fight, flight, or freeze. I froze. My tools left me. I didn't have the ones Jonathan said. And I can just remember there was a little bit of my brain left over, and it's going, wow, this is really interesting. You can't open your mouth. You can't do anything. You're basically paralyzed. And it was an amazing touch into that reptile brain. And what I want you to be able to do is recognize this and master it. You won't, it's not like you won't be triggered in the future, but you'll be able to use those triggers to actually bring closer. Like they talked about conflict bringing you closer, triggering bringing you closer. You start to understand more about yourself, and you start to understand more about your partner. So I'm going to dive more into it. Let me look at my notes real quick. I tell myself a story. I shouldn't look at my notes right now because that looks unprofessional. Okay. The last thing I want to say is just think about what is the biggest fear that we have. This is just to give you an example of how this brain works. And it's not death, it's public speaking. And when people go up to public speak, there's a terror that comes over them. And it kicks in that brain, and what do they have? They can fight, they can flee, or they can freeze. Have you ever seen anybody get up at the podium and they go, huh, and that's it, they're gone? And the challenge with that part of the reptile brain, this is the last thing I'll say now about it, is that part of the brain can't separate between discomfort and danger. And that's a critical thing, because if you are in a relationship, sometimes you're treating your partner as if your physical safety was at risk, and you attack back, and you reach out, and you go into fight, flight, or freeze, when really you can just go, honey, I'm really feeling scared and uncomfortable right now, and I need your help, like Jonathan was saying. So what I want you to do is type over there, which one do you want? Do you want your partner to be your ally or your enemy? Do you want this to bring you closer or further apart? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up to Jonathan and to Scott and Emily and see if there's anything else you'd like to add before we go to this last section.
I just want to say thank you for your vulnerability, Paul. Even the vulnerability about looking at your notes, you know, and what I just see is your quality of care. I just really appreciate how much you care about reaching people, reaching the people that are on this webinar, how much you care about really conveying these tools that you believe in, that we believe in. So I want to thank you for the quality of your care.
Thank you.
I just want to add that, you know, although people see me as an expert in this way, the way you really get better is you hang out with people who are better than you. And I found that, you know, Paul's vulnerability, Scott and Emily in every way are just so good at this, and it's such a blessing to be able to learn the art really of making love. You know, we say sex is making love, but really we make love with our words. And the better we get at knowing how to use words, especially in stressful situations, the more love you have, and that's why I hang out with you guys, and why I hope we get to party with a lot of people later next week.
You know, I also want to just acknowledge something that one of our chat box people wrote. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Rainey, but she says, of course I want to be ally, or I'm adding that I want to, closer, but so scary to be vulnerable. And I just really, that stands out at me. I mean, of course, I'm imagining all of us really want our partners or the people we're close to be allies, but it is scary to be vulnerable. It is. And, but you know, when we're vulnerable, it's an invitation for connection. And so sometimes walking through that fear and acknowledging the fear, and even, you know, saying, I mean, Emily and I oftentimes have said to each other, you know, I'm really scared right now. I'm feeling vulnerable, and she gives me reassurance. She says, Scott, your vulnerability is what I find attractive. She'll say, it's not when you're love coach Scott, you know, being great, you know, with clients. It's when you're vulnerable that I'm attracted to. So as much as we can, if we can appreciate each other for when we are vulnerable. If we can say, God, thank you for your vulnerability. Just like Paul was vulnerable, it opened our hearts. So, you know, let's all, as community and in our relationships, let's support each other to be vulnerable by appreciating that vulnerability.
Yeah, and I just want to say to, is it Rain or Rainey? That I can imagine that maybe in your relationship or previous relationships you've maybe been vulnerable and you've been made wrong, or maybe there's been a level of uncomfortability or anger coming your way, and so that gets really scary, and so there might be some veils of past pain that come up, and it's not okay to be vulnerable. I might get hurt if I open myself, and I just want to give you a lot of empathy for that, and to just be able to speak honestly to that person. I'm really scared if I show myself to you. You know, I'm scared that you might not receive me, or you might not come closer. And I really want to have connection with you, and I want to open my heart. I want to feel safe to open. So that's just an example.
Yeah. And may we be blessed to have allies that respond to those vulnerable invitations to connect.
Yeah. That's why you want to hang out with people like us, where this is
do that. That's where we live.
This is our community. This is why you want to come to our retreat.
Come to our retreats and be part of a community. And I want to acknowledge the people that are in the chat room that are part of our community: Jaguar, Scott, Teresa, Sharon, just to name a few of the names I've noticed. These are people that are part of our community that are offering their own teachings and their own understanding, and we're all really creating this beautiful kind of love community together.
Yeah, we're all learning and growing together. We're not promoting ourselves as, we're relationship coaches, but we're all learning from each other. We're consistently growing. This is a practice. This is about implementing it over and over and over again, dedicating ourselves to these new ways of loving.
Yeah. Turning it back to you, Paul.
Thank you. And David, could you put up the link where people can register? And I asked Scott and Emily how we can make this irresistible, because do we want you to come to the webinar, to the seminar that we've been talking about a little bit here? Absolutely. Let me not be subtle or shy. I want to be clear from the bottom of my heart. Do I want you there? Totally, because part of what, and I know Tressa put up there that she's sitting on the couch with 4 allies, and part of what happens in one of these events, you get the content, you know, the different tips and tools and teaching, you get coaching from all of us, and any one of us, I know right now, Scott and Emily, you'd have a hard time even booking their time, and I don't know how far out Jonathan booked out with coaching, but you get coached from actually five of us, because Katrina will be there too, another amazing relationship coach. So you get the content, you get coaching, which is you get to see your own blind spots. I get to see my blind spots. When I'm not in front of the room, I'm right there taking notes and learning from them. And that's what I love about Jonathan, is he's such a student. Like, he could, if I was on Oprah 4 times, I'd probably have that tattooed on my head. You know, I don't know if the ego would survive, but yeah. But this is a chance to come and be with some people that you might not normally have contact with, and then you have a room full of allies that are rooting for you to have a breakthrough, to transform your relationship. And what we've set up is relationship camp. So if you can remember what camp was like, we're in a 7,500 square foot house. We're all kind of camped together. It's not like there's a bunch of private rooms. You can rent a room somewhere else if you want, if that ends up being a priority. But right now, community, to take the information and get it to transformation, you need these days of integration. And that is what it's all about, is how to integrate it. And what I want to do is that protective part of your mind right now is probably, if you're still on this call, you're excited. You're going like, yeah, I want this. You made the decisions. I want allies. I want to be able to come from love and intimacy. I want to master these tools. And then what's going to happen is that part of your mind that's a reptile mind that wants to keep you comfortable is going to go, yeah, but what about time? What about travel? Yeah, but and just recognize it. You know, it's like your guard dog, and you pet your guard dog and say, honey, it's okay. And you put your guard dog aside and you make the decision from your heart. Does it feel right? And part of your mind's probably going to go, well, yeah, but next time. And you're about to go into the holidays. This is that time. I don't know about you, but there was a great quote from somebody. If you think you're enlightened, go spend some time with your family. So this is going to give you tools to get prepared for the holidays. And we also have food, so this cost includes food and lodging and in a breakthrough in your relationship. It's a pretty transformational experience. So Scott, do you want to say anything else about this? And then
so I just want to paint the picture. We've been doing retreats like this all over the world. We've really got it down to how to create 4 days that are really fun, really informational, and where you can take these simple tools and integrate them in your life. So it's truly a life-changing event. Usually there are between 30 and 40 people, so it's intimate. And you've got 5 master coaches, the 4 of us and Katrina. And at this particular retreat, we're going to have about 10 wonderful love coaches that have been training with us, who just graduated from what we're calling the Love Coach Academy First Class Mentorship Program. So you're going to be surrounded by amazing people eager to help you learn these tools.
The cool thing about our community, too, it's not like, I don't want you to be intimidated, because a lot of times you're like, oh, shit, that's 15 coaches. Our whole approach is radical acceptance and empathy. So we're not here to point out what's wrong with you or fix you or diagnose you or be like, okay, that's what you're doing wrong, you just need to do this, you need to read this book. It's not like that. It's a totally different experience. It's like coming in and being like, wherever you're at, we're going to love you right here. So I just want to say, if there's a little bit of intimidation in there, I just want to soothe that reptile brain. Just let go and open that heart.
And also all ages. I believe Eric Jordan is coming, and Eric, I think he's 23 now.
Yeah.
And also coming is our friend Ed, who is a semi-retired Catholic priest, 85 years old. So literally we've got someone who's going to be 23, someone who's 85, and every age in between.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott, let me ask, Maureen is there saying she feels a little too ignorant about this stuff, and attending it is okay for beginners. So before you answer that, anybody else who has questions about it, please type them in, and I'll make sure to either answer them or ask Scott and Emily. But type in your questions, and we'll make sure to answer your questions before we end for the night. So how about for beginners?
Well, yeah, you know what's great is for this particular retreat, we actually have 2 tracks. There'll be some times that we're all coming together and all 30 or 40 people are doing exercises and fun stuff together, obviously eating together and doing some of the group stuff. But then there's going to be a track for newbies, and then there's going to be a track for people that are more advanced. And so we're really excited about that. And I know that there's at least 7 or 8 people who have registered that are newbies, that are brand new beginners to this.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be at least probably by the time registration is complete, we'll probably have 10 to 15 newbies, and we'll probably have then 10 to 15 advanced, and then the rest of us are the coaches and the staff.
And we already have quite a few people signed up, so it's going to fill up.
It will fill up,
fast.
yeah, it'll fill up. Our max is 40, and right now we're at about 30.
So let me ask you, Scott, what have you? There's what's it normally cost, and what's the special benefit if they sign up in the next 24 hours?
Well, if you sign up in the next 24 hours, we're going to knock off $200. Normal price, it's a 4-day retreat, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
November 6th through the 9th.
November 6th through the 9th. And it's, we should talk about where it is. I don't think we've mentioned that. Kind of important. It's in Timbuktu. You can make it. No, actually, it's at a beautiful, gorgeous estate in Woodside, California. We've done probably 10 retreats there now, maybe 12. And Woodside is near Palo Alto, Stanford University. It's a very kind of she neighborhood, and it's about 25-minute drive from San Francisco Airport, and about a 45-minute drive from Oakland Airport, or a 45-minute drive from San Jose. And oftentimes, if you're flying in, work with us, contact us, send us an email, and we'll actually work to arrange somebody picking you up. You don't even need to rent a car. So we usually can work that out. The normal price for all 4 days, that's food, lodging, and all the training, is $797. But for 24 hours, we're going to offer $200 off that. And so you go to, David has put up the registration code. You go to that code and you put in Love Camp.
Love Camp.
Yeah,
That's
there's
a
a
very
code.
important code.
Write that down. Love Camp is the code, and that gives you a discount of $200. So instead of paying $797, you're going to pay $597 for 4 days.
Cool.
Now I see Sabine is asking if the 4th day is optional. It is. If people can only make it on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, then what we'll do is I'm going to have to make up a second. I'll make up another code, which will be Love Camp 3, which will indicate 3-day. Love Camp 3, which means instead of it being $697, it will be $497. But that's only going to be for 24 hours. Only 24 hours will we have those codes working.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Scott, though, before people think about getting that discount, that 4th day is it's one of the main integration days where you get individual coaching. So for $200, that is the most incredible thing, because everything you've learned.
There are people that say that that's actually the best day of everything, because it's, again, when we're mirrors. So not only are you getting coaching, but when you're seeing people break through and work through their hard stuff, you get to see your stuff in other people and really relate to it. And man, by the 4th day, our hearts are like goo. We're like swimming in a puddle of love. So it's amazing. It's like, and people they feel so connected that it's, by the end, it's like people don't want to go home.
Here, I'll make it even easier for you. And this is going to be something I hadn't even talked over the Paul. But if you go to that registration link, if you're not sure, do I want 3 days? Do I do 4 days? There's an option, Hold My Space. It's a deposit, I think it's $150 or $125. To hold my space, send us an email, and we'll also see that you come in. And if you have questions and you want, information, send us an email with your phone number, or with that Hold My Space, you're going to kind of fill out a little form with your phone number. And if you say, listen, I want to talk to you more about how can I get up there, can you help me arrange picking me up at the airport, give me your phone number, and one of us will call you, and we'll work it out. So you can actually hold your space for $150, but you got to do that in the next 24 hours, all right? And that'll give you time to kind of sort out what's going to happen if you're going to go for 3 days or 4 days. How's that?
That's incredible. I'm going to do one thing, and I think that, Scott, you'll have to step up for Katrina and Emily. I'm going to ask you if you're going to do this. But for anybody who does this in the next 24 hours, I'm going to offer a 1-hour session. So I'm only offering 3 of those. So for 3 people, they'll get between 45 minutes to an hour private session, either before the event so they get the most out of it, or after the event so they can incorporate it. And I don't know if, Emily, you have any interest in doing that, or you think Katrina might, but that's for 3 people. So if anybody else does, that's great. Hate to put you on the spot, Emily, but hell, there you go.
So just to make it clear, that means for the first 3 people that register, you're going to give basically 3 45-minute sessions? Is that?
Yeah. Now, if Katrina's doing it, they can choose between me and Katrina. If you're doing it, they can choose which one, but that's 3 1-hour sessions.
I love that. I love that. So Katrina's not on board, but I'm definitely willing to do that with Paul. So the first 3 people that come on, you have your choice whether you want to work with Paul or me.
So it brings us up to 6.
Oh, really? The first 6
Does
people?
it work that way?
No, I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that will be it. And what we're trying to do, if you think we're trying to get you to come to the event, like I said,
we are.
Absolutely. There's unabashedly, I think, I have to move mountains to get there and to spend all that time there and do everything. And I know I've been with Scott at the beginning of some of these, and Scott and Emily put so much time and energy to make sure that you feel loved and nurtured for those 4 days. It is an amazing, transformational event, and I wish I'd had it before 1 divorce and 3 broken engagements. So you've gotten a lot out of this, I hope. If there's any questions, please type them in now. And we're about to wrap this up. And so I just want to summarize and have you think about it. Which one do you want? I got this way of dealing with upsets, or this way. It's not like you won't have upsets and difficulties and differences. It's, do you have the tools to deal with them with compassion and empathy and understanding, or do you deal with them with reactivity and resentment and regret? And so I really look forward to seeing you there, and I'm looking forward to seeing what I learned from Jonathan and from Scott and Emily and from Katrina. So any last questions, type them in. Otherwise, you've got 24 hours. And
yeah, and, I think some people might want to know, just so you know, on the food is delicious. We have an amazing guy who's our main chef. He's incredible. And there's healthy food. And we always check in with people. If you're gluten-free or dairy-free or taste-free, we try and... I'm glad people were listening. We try and, really adapt the food as best as we can. And although there aren't a lot of private rooms, we do make sure everybody sleeps comfortably. And if you've got questions above and beyond the time that we're doing the webinar, we did type into the chat room info@lovecoachacademy.com. That's an email. Send your questions to that email, and we'll get back to you. But remember, you got 24 hours to get the big discount and to also get the free coaching with Paul and or Emily.
Right, because after 24 hours it goes back up to the regular price,
regular price, exactly. So, let's be honest, you're gonna decide in the next 24 hours. You may have questions, so that's why, okay, you can write the question, send us the email. If it comes in the middle of the night, okay, what about this, what about that? We'll pay close attention to our emails. And but really, we want to make it so that it's affordable. Most of you are going to be new people coming in. We want you to have a great time. We want to bring you in.
I don't think I've met anyone who hasn't come that by the end of it hasn't had some kind of breakthrough.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how amazing it is. I mean, I've seen people that they look so just like horrified, uncomfortable, like, why am I here? And by the 4th day, they're like skipping and swimming and playing and wee! you know, so.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to mention a name, but there is a woman in our home right now. She's upstairs waiting for us. She came to our last retreat. She was kind of dragged there by a friend of hers, and the first day she was looking around going, what is this? What is the word that she used?
Devils.
Devils. She
You guys are all devils here.
Yeah, she thought we're devils because we're kind of moving energy
So
and
different
doing
from
yoga.
what she normally sees.
Well, she really dropped in, enjoyed it so much that we now actually doing private coaching with her, and she just drove over to our house. When we're done, we're going to be doing a little work with her.
She's driving 2.5 hours every week to come see us for a 3-month package.
Yeah,
so.
and she's awesome, and her life has changed
Drastically.
Now I want to say we have great tools, but she typifies what makes this work, which is her willingness to learn, her willingness to grow, her willingness to self-reflect, her willingness to do things differently.
Yeah.
So if you're ready to do things differently, if you're ready for a big change in your life, we're loving and we're firm, and these tools work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
We'll see you there.
Thank you, guys. I'm getting an echo. How do people get the 7 adjustments, that handout? Is there something that we can do so that they can get a copy of it? These people that have stayed and listened all the way through, that is an amazing tool to have up on your refrigerator printed out. I know I have it printed out. Is there anything they can do to get that?
A question to then David, our moderator. If we send out an email to all the people who opted in, letting them know how to watch the replay with the replay link, we could also, I guess, in that email, we could embed the 7 adjustments. Would that work, David?
There's already an email in the autoresponder that everyone will get that will invite them to the replay, and we'll be putting up a page on the website that will allow you to download the document. So you get a separate email that'll give you a link to that document.
Great.
Great. Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. And thanks, David, for putting the technical stuff behind the scenes. Him and one of our other tech team, me, worked really hard to get this all together. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jonathan, who I had to, prior engagement, had to bounce off. Thank you, Scott and Emily. And most importantly, thank you, everybody, for being brave and courageous. We had, I think it was 58 people or so signed up for this event, and I don't know how many of them actually made it out, but a lot of them did today, and a lot will be listening to the replay. So if this is a powerful event for you, make sure to tell people about the replay, because they can still get it for the next 24 hours and watch this event. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you, Paul. See you all soon.
See you soon.
Take care.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.